Tonight, if the sky is clear, you can step outside and look straight up, and there it will be. The moon. Exactly where it always is. Calm and patient and perfectly still, like someone glued it to the ceiling of the world. And every part of you feels certain that it is simply floating up there, resting on nothing, going nowhere at all. But I have to tell you something strange. Something that sounds like a mistake the very first time you hear it. That moon is not hanging still. The moon is falling. Right now, this very second, that giant rock is dropping straight down toward you, faster than any skydiver, and it has been falling for your entire life. And once you understand why it never, ever lands, you will not look at the night sky the same way again. So stay with me. I'm Mr. Why, and let's start with the puzzle everybody feels, but nobody quite says out loud. Everything falls. Drop an apple, and it falls. Drop your phone, and your heart falls with it. The whole earth is one enormous thing that reaches out and grabs everything near it and pulls it down, down, down toward the ground. We call that pull gravity, and nothing gets to ignore it. So here is the fair question, the kind a 5-year-old asks, which is the best kind. If the earth pulls everything down, and the moon is a huge, heavy rock sitting right there near the earth, then why on earth does the moon not simply fall down and crash into us? Why does it get to hang up there, calmly breaking the one rule that every other thing obeys? And here is the twist, the thing that flips the whole question inside out. The moon is not breaking the rule at all. The moon is not floating, and it is not being held up by anything. The moon is obeying gravity perfectly, falling toward the earth every single second, exactly like that dropped apple. The moon has been falling for 4.5 billion years, and it has simply never once hit the ground. And that sentence sounds impossible, so let me show you how something can fall forever and never land. To do that, I am going to borrow a cannon from a man who thought hard about this over 300 years ago, Isaac Newton. Picture this. You are standing on top of the tallest mountain in the world, so tall that its peak pokes up above the air, and in your hands you are holding a ball. You hold it out and you let go, and of course it drops straight down and lands at your feet. Gravity, doing its ordinary job. Now, instead of dropping it, you throw it sideways, straight out toward the horizon. It flies out, but the whole time it is also falling, curving downward, and it lands somewhere out there on the mountainside, a little way off. Throw it harder, and it flies farther before it lands. Harder still, and it goes farther still. You can probably feel where this is heading. Now, here is the piece that changes everything. The earth is not flat. It is a giant ball. So, as your thrown ball sails out over the horizon, the ground beneath it is quietly curving away, bending downward, dropping out from under it. So now imagine you throw that ball so unbelievably fast, so hard, that as it falls toward the ground curves away underneath it at exactly the same rate. The ball keeps falling, and the earth keeps curving out of the way, so the ball never gets one bit closer to the surface. It just keeps falling all the way around the planet, forever, in one great big circle, and that, right there, has a name. We call it an orbit. An orbit is not floating. An orbit is falling, and missing the ground, because the ground keeps leaving. And that thrown ball, that is the moon. Long, long ago, the moon ended up moving sideways, past the earth, at just the right blistering speed, and it has been falling toward us and missing us ever since. It falls, we curve away, it falls, we curve away, around and around, once about every month, which is exactly where the word month comes from. So, the moon really is dropping toward your head this very second. It is just also racing sideways so fast that it keeps sailing clean past the edge of the world instead of landing on it. Now this untangles another thing you have almost certainly wondered about. Astronauts. You have seen them up in the space station, tumbling gently, floating in the air, bouncing off the walls with big grins on their faces. And nearly everyone believes they float because there is no gravity up in space. But that is not true, not even a little bit. Up where the space station flies, gravity is still enormous, almost as strong as it is right here on the ground. So why do the astronauts float? Because they are doing the very same thing the moon is doing. The space station is not parked up there. It is falling constantly, whipping sideways around the Earth so fast that it keeps missing, and the astronauts inside are falling right alongside it, at the exact same speed. When you fall, and the thing you are standing in falls with you at the same rate, you lift off the floor and you drift, you float. That is all weightlessness really is. It is not the absence of gravity. It is everything falling together. Those astronauts are not floating in space. They are falling around the planet, ship and all, and you are watching a whole room of people fall in perfect, endless slow motion. Now, let me be honest with you, the grown-up version, because the real universe is always a little richer than the neat story. The moon's path is not a perfect frozen circle. It is very slowly drifting away from us, creeping outward by about 3.5 centimeters every year, roughly the speed your fingernails grow. It is a tiny, gentle loosening over enormous stretches of time, and it does not change the big picture one bit. The moon is still falling, still missing, still going around and around, and the real secret, the one thing to hold on to, is that sideways speed, not the falling. Everything falls. The trick is moving sideways fast enough that by the time you have fallen, the ground you were aiming at is no longer there. That is the whole piece of magic. Fall and miss. So here is what I want you to carry outside with you tonight. When you look up and see that calm, still moon, understand that nothing about it is actually still. You are looking at a rock the size of a whole continent, falling toward you at thousands of miles an hour, and it has been falling towards you since before you were born, since before anyone you have ever loved was born, since before there were any people at all to look up and wonder about it. Every single human being who has ever lived stood beneath that same falling stone. And it never lands, not because it isn't falling, but because it is always gracefully missing. Falling was never about hitting the ground. Falling is just missing it, over and over and over, forever. So the next time someone tells you the moon is just floating up there, held up in the sky, you can smile and hand them the real secret. The moon is falling, exactly like an apple. It is simply going sideways fast enough to keep missing the Earth. And that's why it has circled over every single night of your whole life. Now I would love to know, down in the comments, before today, did you think there was no gravity up in space? And here is the fun one. If you could throw a ball fast enough to put it into orbit, would you actually do it? Come and tell me. And if you like having the ordinary things above you and around you quietly taken apart until they finally make sense, subscribe and stay for more simple lessons from Mr. Y.